First and foremost, a lot of praise for those who responded to what happened yesterday and the amount of flooding that took place and trying to somehow recover from it as quickly as possible. Both Mayor Chow and City Manager Paul Johnson taking the time in order to do that. But then the questions started to fly about how best to prevent something like that from happening in the future. They continued to make the point that obviously this was the type of storm that we don't see that often, the third such storm perhaps in the last 11 years, and the city infrastructure can only hold so much. And so what they were doing is basically saying that they're planning on reviewing this incident, obviously every incident like it, paying particular attention on how to utilize what they say data, evidence in a stronger way to look at that response, and making a point that they do, in fact, have some projects underway to try and help the city along. Here's a couple of clips from that press conference just a few moments ago.
Yesterday was a very, very challenging day for the people that live in our city, that work in our city, but Toronto is resilient. The good news is that DVP, Gardner has reopened, all transit stations are open, power is mostly restored across the city, and with some areas in Etobicoke and some buildings, some homes that with flooded basement are still recovering.
When you have an event like yesterday, and we're talking about getting months worth of rain in a few hours, it's really hard to see how you would engineer and design in this type of a city to fully protect the way it works.
That said, Chow was also making a point of saying, hey, we've uploaded the Gardner and the DVP to the province. That's going to free up quite a bit of capital funds, $2 billion to try and spend on state of good repair in this city and making sure that the city somehow has better roads and has better systems. And so that is the intent. How much needs to be spent is very difficult to tell. However, at the press conference that took place earlier today with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he referenced the fact that the federal government plans on and has been investing in some of that infrastructure.
With climate change, there are going to be more extreme weather events. So we need to continue to step up in our fight against climate change. But we also need to continue to be making investments in resilient infrastructure that can handle what the future is holding. We know over the past number of years we've made about a dozen investments in flood resilient infrastructure and various measures from the federal side onto the City of Toronto, and we're going to continue to be there to make sure that people are safe and that infrastructure needs are met long into the future in this great and growing city.
Now, while it didn't help this time around, the city is actually undergoing some major infrastructure work. It should be noted there was lots of discussion yesterday about how some of that storm water started to mix with the wastewater in the system because it all flows through the same tunnels when this sort of thing happens. Right now, the city is spending billions and billions of dollars to bypass tunnels, so those two sources aren't in fact mixed. And of course, we've talked about the work that's being done in the Portlands right now to try and help prevent flooding down there. However, it was said today as well that the work down there wouldn't have necessarily helped with the flooding on the DVP yesterday. It only would have helped prevent flooding in the Portlands area once that is done.